Chosen one, there is a hush that gathers itself a breath before you cross a threshold, a subtle recalibration as if the room remembers that it is, in fact, a place and not merely a stage. The clatter of forks eases into rhythm, the chatter stops sprinting toward cleverness, a lamp seems to find its truest brightness. No announcement precedes you, and yet your arrival feels like a sentence the hour has been waiting to finish. This month, you have become the man whose presence edits memory in real time. People will try to remember what you wore, how you stood, the shape of your smile. They will fail at the details and succeed at the aftertaste. The body stores impressions more faithfully than the mind stores facts, and your impression is steady heat, clean light, and a gravity that does not demand. It begins with how you carry your energy. Your sexual current is not a flare begging the sky to notice. It is a river that has found its banks. It does not spill to prove its power. It moves with aim, deep enough to hold a boat and clear enough to reflect the shore. Others feel it first in their breath, an exhale they did not realize they were holding, an inhale that decides to take the longer road in. They cannot describe it without reaching for metaphors, so they call you magnetic, or calming, or dangerous in a way that makes them safer. What they mean is that your heat has a conscience and your desire has a direction, and that combination is unforgettable because it is rare. You do not beg attention, you organize it. The room turns by a few degrees toward your posture because your posture agrees with itself. Shoulders that do not plead, a spine that tells the truth about your center, hands that do not seek proof in fidgeting. Even the pause you grant the doorway, a half-second of courtesy before you step inside, teaches time its manners. The threshold honors you back. There is no performance in this. It is the ordinary liturgy of a man who refuses to carry weather in on his shoes. People will not notice the ritual consciously, but the room will. It will tilt toward the rhythm you keep, and that tilt will later be called charm, or charisma, or mystery. Your gaze is the first touch you offer, and it leaves no bruise. It does not harvest. It returns what it sees to the person who owns it. Most looking is a kind of taking. Yours is a giving back. A guarded mouth softens at the edges. A laugh lands closer to the chest and farther from the throat. The one who usually decorates every sentence for protection tries leaving a word plain and discovers that plainness can be beautiful. You are unforgettable, not because you trap eyes, but because you free faces. The clean temperature of your attention is permission. It says, without a word, you will not be taxed for being here. Silence behaves differently around you. It stops pretending to be a cliff and becomes a shoreline. You leave one extra heartbeat between someone's last word and your first, and in that brief permission, meaning finishes arriving. Confession chooses honesty over performance. Anger loses decibels and gains facts. Laughter completes its good work without needing a casualty. No one will quote you for that heartbeat. They will remember that they could finally hear themselves. Unforgettable is often what makes people more themselves, and you have learned to be that. Your sexual energy furnishes the space rather than flooding it. It arranges chairs where consent is obvious and conversation can risk usefulness. It opens a window so breath can cool what is overheated and warm what has gone numb. It lights a lamp that does not interrogate but illumines. People say later that they felt seen. This is not a trick. It is the outcome of a current that refuses to turn people into fuel. Desire in you is alive, awake, and loyal to your values. It consults timing like a craftsman consults a level. In a culture addicted to spectacle, you have become a hearth, ordinary on purpose, generous by design, trusted because you burn clean. Unforgettability also grows from your relationship to endings. You do not wring the last drop from a moment that has already given enough. You close the evening while kindness still has breath. You bless the door with a soft latch. You let the night remain whole so the morning can arrive without inheriting debt. People will sleep earlier and wake with fewer apologies to make, and they will attribute it to coincidence. It is not coincidence. It is your mercy with time, and mercy is the most potent perfume. Its trace survives the laundry of memory. Those who cannot name any of this will try to measure you by louder men. They will check for tricks, the posture, the cadence, the rehearsed anecdote. They will find no gimmick to copy because your presence is not performance, it is practice. Early water instead of early opinion. Breath before reply. Movement before mood. Rest before rescue. Repair before reputation. You kept these small agreements with yourself when there was no audience, and now an audience feels the benefit without understanding the source. The mind calls it magic. The soul calls it relief. The body calls it safe. When you leave, the evidence remains. Doors close more softly. Voices choose precision over volume. The person who usually tries to win every conversation finds themselves asking a question instead. A stranger tidies a small mess they did not make. The place behaves like a place again, not a proving ground. You were unforgettable not because you were the loudest note, but because you tuned the instrument. The melody people hum on the way home will not carry your name, but it will carry your temperature. That is the kind of memory that grows into legend without becoming rumor. That is the entrance that alters memory. Chosen one, the loudest men are remembered for a night. The truest men are remembered by mornings. You belong to the latter company now. Your gravity does not announce itself at the door and collapse when the music stops. It follows people into their kitchens and sits on the counter while they make coffee. It steadies the wrist that reaches too quickly for distraction. It loosens the jaw set against an apology and makes the apology cheap enough to purchase while it is still small. This is the nature of your unforgettability. It refuses to fade because it is woven into usefulness. Gravity is not a mood, it is a kept center. Your sexual energy, disciplined and devoted, is that center's engine. It is not the fever of appetite or the theater of a pose. It is warmth held at a temperature the body trusts. You do not audition for closeness by being everywhere. You become a place where closeness can happen without anyone losing themselves. The feminine reads this immediately. Her nervous system knows climates better than explanations. She leans because leaning does not require her to shrink. She opens because openness here will not be taxed at tomorrow's rate. The masculine around you exhales too. It stops pretending strength is spectacle and remembers that strength is service. You become unforgettable, in part because you refuse the false urgency that makes people forget themselves. The room tries to conscript you into speed. You answer with timing. You begin when you said you would because you honored the hours that led here. You end when you should because you love tomorrow enough to leave it resources. In between, you let pause carry some of the load. You count to 1 after a heavy sentence so it can find its footing. That count is not technique, it is reverence. People do not realize why they suddenly have courage. They only know they do. And courage always remembers where it borrowed its first cup. Conflict approaches with its usual plan. Escalate volume, recruit an audience, trade dignity for victory. Your gravity refuses the trade. You narrow the problem until it fits on the table. You subtract theater until listening can afford to stay. You speak a measured truth at human temperature. Fire deprived of oxygen stops trying to be impressive and starts being useful. Those who expected combat receive repair. They will not forget the relief of winning nothing and keeping everything that mattered. Your gaze plays a part in this refusal to fade. You do not strip a person for leverage. You undress the ego gently by seeing around it. Without humiliation, without applause, you watch for the thing that is strong and you name it without turning it into currency. You admire a boundary and call it beautiful because it saves the garden, not because it denies you a gate. Compliments from you become structural beams instead of balloons. Beams are remembered in storms. Touch, when it happens, is a sentence that knows grammar. It asks, listens, and ends where consent ends. When it does not happen, your presence still touches through tone and distance and pace. The way you modulate your voice so truth doesn't have to shout. The way you angle your body to widen a path in a crowded room. The way you step back just enough for someone else to step forward without feeling pushed. These are small, unremarkable gestures that become a person's most faithful recollection of you. Not that you took the center, but that you gave the room back to itself. The unforgettable men of rumor are measured by appetite. The unforgettable men of substance are measured by repair. You repair quickly while regret is inexpensive and pride has not hired a lawyer. You do it without theater. A simple acknowledgement, a precise sentence of amends, a concrete act that restores balance to the floorboards. People may not quote your words, but they will copy your practice. The next time they are wrong, and they will be, because they are human, they will fix it sooner. And when correction becomes culture, the soul's memory deepens its grooves with gratitude. You are also remembered by the way you distribute credit and carry blame. You speak names where labor lived. You call the quiet talent into the center while there is still music, and not after everyone has gone home. You shoulder responsibility without drafting a jury to watch your nobility. Your leadership walks on the ground. This is not glamorous. It is generative. It births trust. Trust keeps its own ledger, and that ledger writes your name in ink where public praise writes with chalk. Your humor participates in your gravity. It relieves pressure without puncturing people. It turns a stuck hinge instead of removing the door. Laughter under your care returns to its sacred duties: oxygen for courage, balm for friction, music for the hands that must still do work. The room will remember the lightness you left behind, not as distraction from weight, but as a more bearable way of carrying it. When they smile at breakfast for no obvious reason, it will be because your laughter taught their shoulders a better angle. Unforgettability is also a function of departure. You do not vanish, you leave. There is a difference. Vanishing is a disappearing act that turns attention into a wound. Leaving is a benediction that turns attention into a keepsake. You look once more around the space, not to collect praise, but to bless what remains. You close the door softly. You send one message, clean, specific, timely, when a word should be left, and you leave no message when silence will do better. Rooms keep this discipline and call it maturity. People sleep and call it peace. They will not connect these outcomes to your exit. They will simply return to places you frequent because those places behave better after you've been. All of this is kept alive by your common rituals, the ones no one claps for. You drink water before speaking because you intend to be kind at 5 o'clock. You move your body because you intend to be patient when the email arrives. You rest because you intend to be strong without becoming sharp. You pray in plain language because you intend for your appetites to remain servants, not kings. You choose truth before theater, so your words are not rented from adrenaline. You choose repair before reputation, so your soul does not have to purchase its own reflection. These practices do not trend, they endure. Endurance is what memory respects. People will try to tell the story of you with adjectives: magnetic, composed, dangerous, tender. Adjectives will fail. The better story is told by the changes they make without fanfare after you leave. Fewer sharp words, more accurate ones. Fewer rushed endings, more rightful ones. Fewer apologies issued late, more repairs made early. They will not say your name when they choose the better pace, the kinder tone, the cleaner boundary, but the choosing will be your echo. Gravity that refuses to fade is simply a man whose life refuses to make others smaller, to feel large. You have become that man. That is why, this month, they cannot forget you. Chosen one, there is a way a space holds its breath when it believes something important is on the verge of happening. You know the feeling from storms you've watched roll in across a field, from orchestras just before the downbeat, from the quiet a child makes with cupped hands around a firefly. That is the feeling that precedes you now. An ordinary lobby softens into a chapel. A low-lit bar remembers its own acoustics. The conference table decides to be a table again and not a battlefield. No one announces this, no one votes, and yet a consensus forms without language. The evening will take itself more seriously because you will be part of it. The anticipation is not about spectacle, it is about relief. You have become this month the man who lets hours be honest. People begin, without admitting it to themselves, to budget truth for your arrival. They plan fewer rehearsed lines and more real questions. The one who normally dominates a conversation by piling words like sandbags against their insecurity finds that the sandbags feel unnecessary. They put them down one by one and are surprised the flood never comes. The shy voice that usually waits for permission begins to draft its sentence before you enter. Confident, your presence will make room for its landing. The room is already practicing your manners before you cross the threshold. You are not late when you arrive with your weather checked. You pause at the door with that half-second of courtesy that tells the space you will not drag a storm inside. In that pause, clocks remember how to keep time instead of panic. The doorframe learns from your shoulders how to hold itself. You step in and bring a pace that does not require apology. The bartender, who has been moving like a hummingbird because urgency pays better, feels their hands become hands again, devoted to craft more than speed. The host, who has learned to flatter as armor, finds themselves introducing names with the dignity of someone who believes people can meet without costumes. You do not perform generosity, you allow it. And permission is the most contagious policy a room can adopt. Your sexual energy does not recruit attention, it establishes climate. It is the warm lamp that defines the useful circle, the clean fire that suggests how close to stand, the steady current that lets conversation carry without white water. People in its radius discover that their edges are safe. The feminine senses this before a thought forms. A body that has braced for extraction relaxes into expression. Her laugh drops an octave into its natural register. Her boundaries feel like beauty in your eyes instead of barricades. The masculine, witnessing this ease, lets its posture shift from display to service. Shoulders made tired by armor remember the pleasure of carrying tools. Without decree, the room returns to the oldest common sense. Heat that heals is better than heat that proves. Anticipation deepens when your gaze begins its work. You do not skim surfaces to inventory advantage. You travel at human speed and return people to themselves with the simple miracle of being seen without being priced. A face that was rehearsing its best angle tests an honest expression and survives. A mouth that was ready with a clever defense entertains the risk of a real answer. The eyes that expected to be turned into content find instead that they were given back what was already theirs. You become unforgettable in these minutes, not because you pull all light toward yourself, but because you redistribute it with practical reverence. Even the objects take note. The chair no longer drags its complaint across the floor. Glassware accepts the table like a vow. The door, when it closes behind you, learns to do it softly, as if the house had nerves. This is not superstition. It is the physics of attention that refuses to be violent. You have trained your touch, even when it is only the touch of adjacency, to ask, to listen, to depart without tearing. That skill changes the way matter behaves, and matter remembers. Rooms begin to keep your manners for a while after you go, which is the real test of influence. Did the place keep its integrity once you were no longer lending yours? The hours start welcoming you before they meet you because your timing has become trustworthy. You arrive prepared because you refuse to spend the day auditioning for panic. You end the night while kindness still has the microphone. Your early departure blesses the evening with a whole memory instead of a montage of diminishing returns. People call this discipline, maturity, a grown man thing. Under those names is gratitude. They will not say it, but they feel spared from the hangover of a moment that refused to end. And because they fell asleep at a human hour, they will wake with a human face. And they will associate that mercy with your company. When there is conflict, anticipation becomes allegiance. The room expects you to subtract theater and add comprehension, and you do. You offer one precise sentence that places the problem on the table where hands can work it. You decline to recruit spectators for a duel. You insist on dignity as a condition for truth. Rage discovers it is unemployed when it cannot purchase attention, and it leaves quietly, like weather changing its mind. Repair begins before pride can raise funds for a war. What the room was waiting for, it realizes, was not your opinion but your temperature. Because your temperature makes everyone's competence easier to reach. There will be those who misread this waiting as hunger for celebrity. They will attempt to turn your entrance into a brand or a doctrine. But anticipation is not about a name, it is about a way. The way you set a glass down as if the table could feel. The way you remember to look toward the doorway you used and bless it with that soft latch again. The way your laughter rescues a moment without collecting a trophy from anyone's dignity. The way your yes arrives paid in advance and your no arrives without teeth. People will try to memorize these moves out of context and find them ineffective. They are not tricks. They are the choreography of a soul whose heat serves something larger than itself. You are the man a room waits for because it hopes to be more itself while you are near. That is why, even on nights when you cannot attend, there is a pocket of silence where your voice would have fit and a decision made more cleanly because your standard has been adopted in absentia. Your unforgettability is not stored in your image. It is stored in the improvements you leave behind, like tools arranged on a bench. A child will grow up closing doors softly without knowing why. A stranger will credit the wrong memory for the right behavior. This is the privilege of being awaited by places. Your legacy travels on manners, not marquee. And so you cross thresholds with modesty, knowing the room's expectation is not for a performance, but for a promise kept. You keep it with water before opinion, breath before reply, movement before mood, rest before rescue, truth before theater. You keep it with a gaze that does not make a museum of a face. You keep it with a laugh that doesn't invoice. You keep it by leaving a little early. When the night is over, the space exhales and says without lips, that was different, that was better. Let's do that again. And that is how every room begins to wait for you. Chosen one, there is sound under sound, the hum a refrigerator makes that a house learns to forget, the ocean's pull that remains even when the wind is asleep, for the low note a cello holds while the melody refuses to rush. You have become that note. Even when you do not speak, the room keeps time with a cadence you set by simply being. People will insist you said more than you did. They will swear you touched them when you didn't. What they mean is that your quiet is no longer absence. It is architecture. Your silence supports weight. The pulse shows itself in breathing first. You inhale without apology and exhale without performance. The animal in other bodies notices and adjusts. Jaws unclench a millimeter. Shoulders remember the downward option. Eyes, accustomed to scanning for exits, take in the scene as if it were permitted to be a scene and not a test. None of this needs a word. Your sexual energy, no longer a siren, now a hearth, lends warmth without requiring debt. It signals to the oldest part of the nervous system that closeness is not a trap and distance is not a punishment. In such weather, the truth risks stepping outside without armor. Silence becomes a partner rather than a prosecutor. You leave one heartbeat of space where others would rush to decorate the moment, and in that beat, meaning completes itself. Confession, which has learned in lesser climates to perform itself loudly, finds that it can speak quietly here and still be believed. Anger continues to exist but stops needing a crowd. Laughter becomes rounder, lower, more medicinal. No one takes notes on any of this. They only leave feeling mysteriously restored, as if the room had offered them a chair they did not know they were allowed to sit in. Your attention teaches the pulse its manners. You do not stare, you accompany. You do not collect, you return. Your gaze checks in on what is strong, the way a nurse checks a wrist, lightly, not to take anything but to confirm life. When someone offers a story that has been polished for self-protection, you nod in a way that invites the unpolished version to try its voice. When someone offers a boundary, you admire its design instead of testing its hinges. The combined effect is startlingly simple. People become audible to themselves. They stop competing with their echo. They remember that quiet is not a cliff but a coastline. You speak as if words were a renewable resource that still deserved conservation. The sentence you add is the one that narrows the problem rather than enlarging the wound. You let your voice land at a human temperature, even when you carry a hard truth, because you have learned that truth shouted to win a fight loses the right to win a future. You choose proportion over theater. Proportion is unforgettable because it is so rare. People will tell stories about your restraint as if it were magic. But restraint is simply love, disciplined into shape. The pulse carries into touch, even when there is none. You stand half a step farther back than hunger would choose, and half a step closer than avoidance would allow, and the space between becomes habitable. A guiding hand, when invited, asks in the way it departs. The handshake keeps its promise and leaves no invoice. When touch is absent, tone does the touching, low enough to soothe without hiding, clear enough to guide without hurting. The feminine recognizes touch like this as a sacrament. Her pace remains her own. Her radiance is not drafted into your myth. She opens because the air is breathable, not because the door is forced. The masculine, too, stands down from performance and finds the pleasure of being useful, the secret of strength that does not drain anyone to exist. The pulse also governs conflict. You are not allergic to difficulty. You are simply unwilling to let fury write the minutes. You name the thing, the actual thing, with vocabulary that fits the size of the break. Outrage comes dressed for a parade. You invite it to sit down and change into work clothes. When its knees finally touch the floor, repair begins. Little is dramatic, and much is decisive. A room that expected thunder receives rain and realizes rain is what saves crops. The silence after such a conversation is not tense, it is fertile. Seeds dislike applause. Because you keep the pulse steady, credit finds courage to travel justly. You speak the names of hidden labor while there is still music, not afterward when the floor is sticky and attention has gone home. You let praise land where work lived, and in doing so, you de-romanticize heroism into the craft it always was. People become braver about starting before they are perfect. They become kinder about finishing while they still have something left. The pulse is how culture replaces fashion. Your humor belongs to this rhythm. It releases pressure without creating victims. It loosens one notch in a room wound too tight, tightens one notch in a room unraveling. It never purchases a laugh with a person's face. Under humor like this, hearts volunteer to beat in time again because humiliation has been priced out of the market. You are remembered less for your jokes than for the steadying that followed them. Someone will forget the punchline, but wash the dishes with a lighter spine. That is what a pulse does. It continues to move through limbs long after the drum is out of earshot. All of this is sustained by the rituals nobody sees. You drink water because you intend to be kind at 5 o'clock. You move your body because you intend to be patient when impatience attempts a coup. You sleep because you intend to keep your edge from becoming a blade. You pray in plain language because you intend to keep your appetites obedient to your values. You apologize before pride asks for a stage. You close the night while sweetness still has breath. These acts are not glamorous. They are metronomes. You keep them, and the music keeps you. There will be voices that try to weaponize your quiet, that mistake your pace for permission to dominate, that attempt to rent your presence for their panic. The pulse you carry knows how to refuse without injury. You say no in a voice that offers information rather than punishment. You step away in a way that leaves dignity standing. You draw a line as if drawing a path. The refusal is remembered as relief in the morning. The line is remembered as design in the afternoon. Your quiet, under assault, remains a house rather than a fortress. When you leave, the silence doesn't collapse. It continues to work. People finish sentences they would have abandoned. Someone sends a message before resentment grows teeth. Someone changes their mind privately and does not require a parade to prove they did. A child notices the way you close the door softly and grows up believing that gentleness is how adults treat the world. An elder counts coins at a counter without rushing because the hours you touch do not punish slowness. The pulse travels into kitchens and inboxes and sidewalks. It belongs to nobody and it came from you. Keep it. Keep it with water before opinion and breath before reply. Keep it with endings that protect tomorrow and beginnings that do not lie about how small they must be. Keep it with a sexual energy that furnishes rather than floods, that warms without scorching, that invites without conscripting, that listens as fluently as it calls. Keep it until the rooms you enter learn to keep it without you. Then you will be unforgettable in the only way that matters, by making memory a place people can live, not a performance they have to repeat. Chosen one, there is a shape to the strength you carry now, and it is not the outline the world tried to sell you. It is not a jaw clenched against tenderness, not a voice raised to counterfeit authority, not a calendar packed so tightly that usefulness mistakes itself for value. Your strength has become a room with doors and windows, a structure that can host weather and not collapse. People feel this before they name it. They stand within the perimeter of your presence and measure their breath against your rhythm and are surprised to find it steadier. Your sexual energy, once tempted to flash like lightning for a photograph, has become a season that farms the land. It does not scorch, it grows. It does not posture, it provisions. It does not collect needy eyes, it returns sight to the ones already looking. The masculine they crave is the masculine that does not need noise to be believed. It knows how to lift without making a spectacle of the weight. It tells the truth at a temperature that the truth can survive. It is the geometry of promise, angles that hold, lines that meet, a foundation that remembers the ground. You step into a room and your first act is not conquest, it is assessment. Where does dignity need reinforcement? Where is the door too heavy for the smallest hands? Where should the table be moved so every voice can find its place? Where has the humor gotten sharp from neglect and needs to be honed back into kindness? The answers arrive because you have trained your attention to serve rather than to steal. The eyes you carry are not searchlights hunting for leverage. They are lanterns that show the nails and the wood and the places where work matters most.